Ann H. Phillips, 308 27th Street, speaking on 4 topics. Number 1, due to certain events in 2018, including a hearing in municipal court involving a private citizen and a city volunteer, council and the solicitor became aware that an ordinance requiring continuous vetting and limits on volunteers in youth activities wasn't being enforced, in fact was being ignored. This is a serious issue of council accountability and governmental liability, with serious consequences for the city and taxpayers if harm occurs to a youth while participating in a city-sponsored activity due to city negligence. What action has council taken to ensure that its ordinance is being enforced fully, impartially, and on an up-to-date basis? 2, in the online city directory, each city's official's email address is at Brigantine Beach NJ.com. Except for that of you, Mayor Simpson. You have an gmail.com address, a private email for public business. We ask that the mayor use the official email address to eliminate any public suspicion of mixing public and private business. 3, this morning on Don Williams' program, the county executive, Dennis Levison, again extolled the county's long-time practice of changing auditors every 3 years. We've recommended this in the past as a best practice and recommend it to council again. This shouldn't be a partisan matter, but one of competence, integrity, and periodic change of oversight. And number 4, Mayor Simpson, your predecessor gave a State of the City address in February of the year. We recommend that you do the same as you see it. How do you see the city and its future? And what are your goals and your proposals to achieve them? Such a presentation, particularly as a first-time mayor, will help you to govern and help property owners to know what to expect and whether they agree with it or not. Now, I said 4 topics. I'm going to add a 5th right now in support, again, of Councilman DeLupri and his reason for objecting to the dune maintenance permits. This needs to be said again and again. It is private alteration, interference in public property. And of course, if you try to change it or you wish to amend it, there must be a public hearing because there is a big difference between the private property in construction and this is public property. And obviously, we're all fully aware of the tremendous advantage the dunes provide for our protection. Now, if there are any comments, and I hope there will be some, we'd like to hear them now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Sir, any comments for Mrs. Phillips? Okay, see none.
Well, I would pose a question because the first of those points, 2 of the points would be within Andy's control, and the one about me, thank you, but no response needed. But in terms of the background checks, I don't think anybody disputes how important it is, not just that we comply with it because it's in our ordinance, but objectively, that's something we need to be doing. So have we, since this became an issue a couple of months back, have we updated and completed the background checks?
Yes, and the one thing that I guess I like to verbalize is the fact that the city did not ignore the importance of the background checks for individuals. We have a process that's in place. All we did was refresh the process to make sure that everybody understood how important it was. We sent out letters to the 5 organizations, letting them know that they are to provide the city a list of their volunteers in advance of their season beginning, and that the city will, if need be, prohibit use of city facilities if all of their volunteers have not gone through that certification. So it's not that the city has ignored it. We refreshed it to make sure that everybody understands how important it is, to once again reinforce that there is a process, needs to be followed, and we'll do it in advance of the seasons as they begin. And we started with the hockey, I believe, season this year. And they have to provide a list of their volunteers, and we have to check off that we have received through this certification process.
Okay, so that'll be like a rolling compliance deadline for each?
Yeah, I mean, the city's practice was an every 2-year recertification.
That
And
was
I
the
don't think
requirement.
anybody-
Yeah, that was, Dennis and I have been involved in coaching youth sports for a long time here on the island, and it's been an ongoing practice. And as far as, I don't know, Dennis, with the background checks, it's a great program. We've all done it. You get fingerprinted, have a background check, and it's worked great. There's never been any problem, really, that I know of with any coaches or anything with the youths.
And I guess that you have to understand, too, the information that comes back, and you probably know this, Jimmy, better than anybody here, that it's very limited. It's either yes or it's a no.
Right.
There's,
right, yeah.
And there has to be convictions. It can't just be something that is...
Right.
The mere fact that the person was arrested or charged with something is not going to show up on the Identico background checks that we run. They only show convictions, which is really what all we're interested in. If the guy was arrested or girl was arrested and the charges were dismissed or they were found not guilty or mediated away, that's fine. It doesn't count.
Yeah.
One question I have is to you, Fred. Imagine if Mrs. Phillips says we have a lawsuit going on, you would know about that, and I was never aware that we had a lawsuit going on.
My office is unaware of any lawsuits.
Okay. You said there was a law?
She mentioned, Mayor, an incident with a volunteer and somebody at a private business. That case went to...
Oh, that stupid thing?
Yeah, that case went to mediation. They plastered the accused individual's information all over Facebook as if it was his criminal history.
Yeah.
That was simply an arrest history. There were no convictions on it. That's why we stuck with and refreshed the program that we have.
And I'm sure the chief, you know the incident we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And while we're at it, too, I'd like to, I'll make a comment then on something
I
else.
apologize,
Our auditor, I want to compliment our auditor. We've cut taxes. If you don't realize, the last 3 years, this year we're going to be cutting taxes again. With the county taxes that are getting cut this year also, that was announced this morning, I think our auditor and chief financial officer are doing a tremendous job with the books and the budget, and I have no problem keeping the auditor that we have now and find no reason to change the auditor.
I think one of the issues, too, is sometimes people want change for the sake of change. But if you have something that's working very well and you have someone who really is one of the best people, not only in the county but in the state, if you look at the outstanding shape our finances are in, the fact that we have continued to lower taxes, I think we're in good shape.
Whoa. Different guy up here. It was our auditor I just talked to. He has 21 out of the 23 cities in Atlantic County. So that's got to tell you something. Atlantic County can do what they want to do. Last couple of years, we're the ones lowering taxes. I think we're doing a great job. For my Gmail, I never even knew I had a Gmail. I'm assuming it's my assistant's, so she can get out to me, anybody that calls me, as soon as possible. And I'm going to ask our city manager to ask Ryan if that's hers. If it is, to see if they can link it to my. I do have a city account. Okay.
Realistically, what's the difference? He's not the president of the United States or running for president.
I could be.
I know you could be. I'd vote for you. But if a person wants to use their a separate a email account
I
for...
don't even know who it is. I don't have a Gmail.
For
I have
city
AOL.
email.
That's how old I am. I got AOL.
What difference does it make?
I think the issue is, yeah. I think it's just for transparency's sake and just to have consistency.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all.
And again, it goes to my assistant, Jim's assistant, and it's just for her to get it out as quickly as possible to me to handle whatever problems come about. You're up.
Good evening.
May I just for a moment, and also regarding Mrs. Phillips, on item number 1 on the background checks, there was an exoneration of that one person that was kind of referred to here, so I think we should make note of that, and at the same time, hand in hand with that, just all the countless hours of all the good people that go down there, we should never forget about that, and just have people thinking about something that would somehow, some people might think it would be a blemish, when really there's nothing but just great work being done in all our different sports here by all the different volunteers.
Thank you, Dennis.